Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Sun Up on 7. It's Monday, January 24th, and we're having meaningful, very important conversations that I hope that everybody is at some point pitching in, grabbing something that you can carry on during the day and talk within your network because these are must-have conversations. And right now, we're joined by the man of the hour. We saw him on the news last week in various court spaces addressing various situations. We have with us attorney Orson O.J. Elrington. And we're going to be talking about many cases. One, the case with the immigrants that we saw that got stuck at the airport, and of course, is this a situation of human rights abuse? Then we're talking about domestic violence as well, and then, what can be interpreted as a law as it regards to that. So, good morning, Mr. Elrington. Thank you so much for being here with us on Sun Up 7. How are you feeling today?
Health, strength, and daily food. Once I have that, I'm great.
There you go.
That whole prayer I learned at Grace Primary is something that I have learned in my adult years.
What was that? Health, strength?
For health and strength and daily food, we praise thy name, O Lord. It's the greatest blessing and the most important blessings.
That's a really good way to start the day.
Start off just like
Yes,
that. Very much so. And so you have been the man of the hour in all these different news, and so you've been featured, I wouldn't say fighting cases, but being a representative, helping out, whether it be, the Tanga case and so forth, for different immigrants. You do your stuff. You do your stuff. And so I guess we could tackle one at a time, first off. Let's go with the immigrants at first. And could you give, for some of our viewers that don't know what that situation is, give us a small synopsis of what is happening when it comes to that recent case?
Well, I think that first, it might a brief background might be helpful. I can't remember on what day it was last week, but sometime in last week, 38 persons, most of them nationals of Venezuela, entered Belize and the immigration authority determined that they did not meet the minimum requirements, and therefore that they should be returned. That is fine if that was to be left there. However, and unfortunately, that subsequent to that, those persons were subjected to cruel and inhumane treatment. Their human rights and constitutional rights were violated, and they were subjected to treatment which, as a Belizean, I am absolutely ashamed of. So let's begin there.
Yeah. In regards to that, when you think about the idea of a person, persons, because it's at 38 people, not just like one or two, 38 people have had, I think about your dignity, your human rights, the things that as a human being, all of us should be able to have been stripped away. When it comes to a case like that, how do you maneuver through cases where you have the person being violated in that way?
Well, ultimately, we try to utilize all avenues available, and it is in those circumstances, it's not a situation that we will even, we try to resolve the situation as quickly as possible. So in this instance, I must give kudos and must give commendations to organizations such as the Human Rights Commission of Belize, the UNHCR, and as well the IOM, the International Organization for Migration, because those three organizations were very helpful in trying to resolve the issue. I should also give kudos to Copa Airlines.
Okay.
There's a whole saying, big up who for big up and dig up who for dig up.
Yes, very much so.
So big up those entities and those individuals, those employees from those organizations who were very helpful, who were very passionate about trying to resolve the situation and ensure that the human rights and the constitutional right abuses that these persons were subjected to were resolved as quickly as possible. On the other hand, I must dig up and put on public record once again my complete and utter disappointment with the Belize Police Department, with the Belize Immigration Department, and with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There was also an individual from the Venezuelan Embassy who, by all accounts, and I cannot remember her name right now. I have to ask my assistant it, who was completely unprofessional and trying to, oddly enough, trying to aggravate the situation.
Oh,
Those
wow.
are one of the entities that I called, and they said they could do nothing. They said that they had to wait until the
Wow.
government of Belize made a complaint. I said the government of Belize will not make a complaint against itself.
So they were powerless until something
No, it
else
was not
happened?
even that. When they got to after the individuals, after our intervention, the intervention of our law firm, UNHCR, and the Human Rights Commission, and COPA, the persons were removed from detention in what we call the piss house, and they were moved to the Biltmore.
Okay.
And the person representing the Venezuelan Embassy was at that location, once again, telling these persons total untruths and, in effect, trying to intimidate them as well, telling them lies, and as well trying to intimidate other persons who were there trying to assist, including members of my staff. So again, I will put on public record, I said I would, and I'm doing so, that is completely unacceptable.
Wow.
Specifically, she was telling them that they should say that they were not subjected to, whenever asked, they should say they were not subjected to cruel and inhumane treatment, that they were not in detention, that they were just held. So,
You tell if you lie.
yes.
How does that affect the process of them, I guess, getting processed in the country or leaving by...
Well, as you may or may not know, on Saturday, the vast majority of them were returned to Panama. However, of them, 8 individuals have applied for refugee status in Belize.
Okay.
Some of them have chosen to apply for refugee status in Panama. They prefer to be returned to Panama and apply for refugee status in Panama.
Okay.
So again, like I was saying before, it is not a uniform situation. Some persons are not seeking refugee status because they said they had full intention to try to go to some other destination for vacation or whatsoever. So, but the vast majority of them were trying to seek asylum, and we're trying to seek refugee status.
Wow. So that's where the case stands right now at this present moment. Some have gone back. You said, well, 30 then, really?
Yes, 30
and then
have
8 are
returned,
still here.
and 8 have remained. And I think it's important to understand that these 38 persons were not all adults. Some of them were children as young as, I think I saw one which was no more than maybe 2 years old. And some of them were adults, women, men.
Even the children were subjected to the same...
Again, and this is one of the violations that I identified, that at the holding cell, at the Queen Street Police Station, one of the persons who was being held was a minor, which is, you don't need a law degree to know that that is
That's not right.
acceptable, that is not right. Again, they were the police department, and I can't remember the specific name of the gentleman right now, I had his name written down, refused for us to be able to consult
But
with
you
our
can't
clients.
refuse that right from your lawyer?
Well, that is the point, and that is why it is a constitutional and a human right violation. That is how disgusting and how clearly in violation these persons were of the rights of these individuals. This is not a case where it is borderline violation. This is clear and outright violation of the rights of these individuals.
Yeah.
And so what will be done when it comes to these violations? Because I know, I understand that now these 30 individuals, well, 30 of the 38 have gone to Panama to seek refugee, and we have 8 remaining here applying for in Belize.
Yeah.
But now what will happen? Because the rights have still been violated.
Yes.
And they might still continue getting violated.
Exactly. So what now?
Well, that is, I believe that the Human Rights Commission and our law firm has already indicated that we are willing and we will, if it is the desire of these persons, to pursue a constitutional claim against the government of Belize for a breach of their constitutional rights. And, if necessary, to take it to the highest courts and to claim a breach of their human rights. So, But again, it is dependent on these persons as to whether or not they want to pursue this violation of their rights.
Wow. Is there like any recommendations you have for the different departments involved in this violation as to how they can improve?
Respect the rights of persons.
Right. Yeah, but maybe they don't have an awareness
I was
of
just
like,
gonna say, you can't
of
respect
how to
something
go
you
about
don't know.
doing
But
that.
again, some of these things, as I said, these are not situations which do not often come up. Every single Belizean, I believe, or for the vast majority of Belizeans, and I'm pretty sure every police officer knows what is the fundamental right of these individuals. Every immigration officer should know what are the fundamental rights of these individuals. Again, therefore, we cannot accept that it is out of ignorance.
Okay.
And if it is out of ignorance, then they are equally and maybe even more liable.
How you have a job and know the rights of that you're supposed to be carrying out. This is the whole, the terms you're supposed to click on to or check on the whole job description. You're supposed to know these things.
Right.
Correct.
Definitely.
And I'm not even talking about the unprofessionalism of members of these various departments, because that is completely is attached, but that is a completely different story. It was completely disappointing, the unprofessional nature of some of the persons who hold the highest offices in these various departments.
Wow. So I think it has to do with the regard of also immigrants, I've seen the situation play out as well, where you come to this country and people feel that because you're an immigrant, they see you as less than. It's a crazy mentality
that's
that we
most
have.
certainly a point, but I think it's a total disregard for the rights of individuals.
Definitely.
Period.
I agree with you.
I will tell you, in the same day and in the same instance, regrettably, Mr. Winston James, he was similarly held at the police station the very same day as well. Or absolutely, they were supposed to serve a notice for that he had a trial which was supposed to be on Friday. And rather than simply serving the notice, they determined that they would arrest him and hold him from 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. And because I was dealing with other pressing matters that very same day, we were not able to have him released until 9 p.m. the night. So he was held in excess of 8, 9, 10 hours unlawfully by the police. So he's a Belizean, but they just, no matter how I kept asking, why is it that he is in your custody? There's no reason for him to be in your custody. There's no lawful reason that he should be in your custody. So yes, there is a certain, I would say, maybe stigma, a certain way in which the authorities feel that as though immigrants should not have rights, but there are various other groups which they feel should have no rights.
Right.
Which is not every single person has rights in Belize. There is a presumption of innocence. Our legal system operates on a very, very simple principle. You are innocent until proven guilty. And that everybody is equal before the law. Nobody should get special treatment, nor should anybody should be treated, but everybody should have the full protection of the law as well. These are fundamental principles which are important to uphold the rule of law and which are important for our democracy.
But they do not, or they are not followed, because
they are not followed.
They're beautiful in black and white, but let's be very, very honest. I have met, and the thing is, the case with Tanga, I have met 2 other people with very similar cases where you are, for some reason, you're detained. You're not supposed to be detained. They hold you, and they don't make you have the right to talk to your lawyer until umpteen hours, or sometimes they want to keep you until the night, till the next day they want to hold you.
This is, and that is one of the issues that I have had with the Belize Police Department and members of the Belize Police Department on several occasions, where they simply say that we can hold you for 48 hours. That is not true. That is not true. The law says that you can hold a person in detention for questioning. So if you don't have any questions for this person, you cannot simply vet out a sentence of 48 hours because you feel so. So if you're going to hold a person and if you've questioned a person and you don't have any further questions, then you should release them.
So
You can hold them to question them for 48 hours. But again, it is always what happens is that they can claim that they were holding them for questioning. But they would outright tell you many times, well, we have 48 hours to hold them. I said, no, that is not the law. The law says that you can hold a person for 48 hours for questioning. If you have no intention to question a person, or if you have questioned a person, then you should no longer hold that person in detention. You are violating that person's right if you do so. But again, many of these things go unchallenged because a person is just simply saying, you know what, I'm happy to be out. I don't want to go through
You don't want to deal with the system anymore.
I don't want to go through the process of challenging it. I don't want to go through the cost of challenging it, and therefore I will just let it go.
And I think that's the problem with the system and with what we do, because I've met enough people that have that same right violated all the time. Or here this one, yeah, where the officer is supposed to write out the charge, and for some reason, I don't know that what kind of charge they write out. This I must say what essay, the grand essay of all essays that they do on master's degree kind of charge, because the charge start from like 1 o'clock and not finish till like around 7, 8 o'clock. So.
Oh, well, you're lucky in those circumstances. Most circumstances, they'll tell you that the arresting officer is no longer on duty and will come back the next day.
Have to catch bus
and then when they come back is when they will levy the charge. You're talking about the same day. That would be nice. In many and most instances, it will be that they will say, oh, the arresting officer is no longer on duty. We have to wait until they come back on duty for them to tell us what exactly the charges are. But he's going to be charged. Or he or she is going to be charged.
There's so much stuff wrong with this system, and I keep saying it so much because people have.
There's not wrong with the system. There's so much stuff wrong with individuals who enforce the system. The system is a great system if it is properly enforced. I heard my learned friend on another media entity on my way here, my learned senior counsel who worked on a case with me last week. He said, there are a lot of great laws in Belize. The problem is in the enforcement of those laws. It is not that the laws do not exist. It is not that we do not have a good system, but it is in the enforcement of those laws and in the implementation of those laws, which we are absolutely lacking.
I hear you with that. I will challenge you a little bit with that in the sense that look at the system when it comes to somebody writing a charge, right? If that person is in fact off duty, they live maybe at Sand Hill or Bilmopon, or for all we know they live at Dangriga, right? They are the only person that seems to be able to write that charge for that person. So
it's not true. It's not. They consistently, and again, in another situation, just that we faced last week, they claim that that is the case. That is not the case.
So someone else can
Someone else can most certainly write the charge. If you have the investigating officer, there is a statement. The basis of any charge is based on a statement. So a person, any person, so what if, let's think about this, let's take this. So let's say you're an investigating officer. Let's say you die today. You walk out and you die after. So that charge can no longer be levied?
The way how they make it seem like so?
No, it is not. It is not. That is a matter of their internal policy, which has absolutely no basis in law.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no basis in law which says that any officer can levy a charge, and those charges are supposed to be based on a statement. It's not on what that individual has in their head.
Yeah.
It is supposed to be on the basis of a statement made to the Belize Police Department, so any officer should be able to levy a charge.
There you go.
Yeah, but
it definitely sounds like there needs to be some work done with the awareness of our public as to the different processes when it comes to making reports and, you know, arrested and tried and all of those things. Because if you did not know, you know, such things as how you're saying, you cannot be arrested or detained for 48 hours without questioning and those things, then how do you know your right is getting violated there? And I feel that's like a big thing that a lot of people were lacking, you know, that level of awareness or knowledge as to processes and people's rights. And then how do you go about making those claims as well?
And I think that is why platforms like this are important. And that is why at every single instance that I'm offered the opportunity to share and to help educate the public, I do so, because it is critically important that persons, and you guys are not 100% right, 1,000% right. Where you begin is always in knowing your rights.
Yeah.
In always in educating yourself. And that's why it is important that you have platforms like this, which from time to time offer the opportunity for the general public to gain knowledge about the way the law operates. And we do not operate in a vacuum nor on the basis of ignorance.
Yeah.
Because then you're right. If you don't know that something wrong is happening, then that's the first part. If you know that something is wrong, then to determine whether or not you're going to actually act on your rights.
Most definitely, you can challenge it. And moving on, because we have our next case too as well, and the people have really, this has really been one when you look at the Honorable Patrick Faber, his case. Could you speak a little bit on that now and give your synopsis when it comes to that
Well, it's
case?
very simple, is that there was a statement made by his fiancée. His fiancée went on to make a further statement. Now, a statement is, you make a statement now, and you can go back and make a further statement. You can add to that statement.
Okay.
She went ahead, made that, and still, the Belize Police Department insisted that they must proceed to levy a charge. Now, remember that this is one statement. When you make a further statement, it becomes a part of that statement. So in effect, it says, I am black, but you know what? I am also white. So black and white coming together makes gray. You can't just say, oh, well, I am black.
Yeah.
That's not the end of the statement. The statement is in its entirety.
Okay.
So, in effect, that is what happened. And we saw how that played out.
Yeah. In regards to that, her withdrawing the statement, really.
It wasn't withdrawing the statement. It wasn't withdrawing the statement. It's a further statement. It forms a part of the statement. So that is what needs to be very clear. In that further statement, it said, effectively, I no longer want to pursue I don't want any court action in this matter, and effectively saying, forget about everything that was said before.
So meaning, I got and say something, this is what happened, but you know what?
No, that's not what it said. It didn't say that, oh, this is what happened. It's saying that I no longer want to pursue this matter. It didn't say this is what happened. It's saying I no longer want to pursue this matter. Because in effect, some of the things that I might have said in it were not accurate, and therefore, I just want to. I no longer want to pursue this matter.
In regard to, let's say, complaints or allegations going against an abuser, so like there's many instances where this person has been taken to court or reported, that they have abused many persons. Is there like any sort of thing that the Belize Police Department has that, okay, there has been many complaints against this individual, we definitely gotta see something done or investigated to see where this will all end up or where this will...
Last week, and just before I came here, I made sure to check my Facebook friends list to ensure that my good friend, the Commissioner of Police, was still my friend.
Okay.
So I can say, my good friend, Commissioner of Police. In all honesty...
Facebook friend, I mean a real friend or no?
No. That's my real friend. That's my real friend.
Okay.
So much so we spoke over the phone this weekend, and so much so that when he was appointed the Commissioner of Belize, I was one of the 3 persons he invited outside of his family.
All right.
That is how good of a friend that he is to me. However, he said something which was very disappointing to me when he said that if a person makes a complaint, that you must proceed to charge. That is completely false. So to your point is that every single instance when a complaint is made, there should be an investigation. And after the police have determined the veracity of those complaints, then a charge should be levied.
Okay.
You don't charge and then investigate. So to your point, shouldn't be after several different complaints that you investigate. It should be after every complaint, there is an investigation, and if after that investigation, there is evidence to support the allegations being made, then a charge be levied. And that was one of my big issues with the way this matter was handled with the Honorable Patrick Faber, was that there was never, ever an investigation.
Okay.
So what I do have to say towards that, right? I understand that completely, but just like Kevin said to us, well, if you know a person has had history,
no, you should.
Do you not think that there should be something that
you
put
cannot
in place?
know history. You cannot know history unless you've done an investigation.
Okay, so if you have investigations,
you cannot make
it's cumulative.
an allegation. Again, I go back to where I began the statement. Our laws, the way our system operates, is a very simple, fundamental principle. You are innocent until proven guilty. However, in the court of public opinion, it seems that you are guilty even after declared innocent. Let me be absolutely clear that I abhor, I denounce violence of any type, especially violence against women and children. But as we were talking about before the session began, that it is imperatively important that we stick to fundamental principles and that there's equal treatment before the law, that there is no appearance of any type of bias in any direction, whether it would negatively or positively affect a case, that you should ensure that the law, that everybody who appears before the law is subjected to equal treatment.
There you go.
That's a constitutional right, you know. That's a fundamental principle, which is important to the way that our laws operate. Imagine if people can arbitrarily determine, you know what, I'm going to treat Renata worse because she's a woman and she's black. Because remember the laws used to operate that way at one point, you know.
Yes.
But we are a more mature society. We are a more mature country. And therefore, it is imperatively important that you have equal treatment before the law. Have you ever seen the Lady Justice? There is normally assigned Lady Justice, and you know why? It says justice is supposed to be blind. It doesn't matter who is before the law. It is supposed to be equal treatment before the law.
OJ, I don't want to cut you short, but I like channel what our viewers are saying here, and we have to be the voice of them. Many are saying that you're mixing up the words and that people don't believe exactly the idea of the statement. So again, I go back to what people are saying. It says, end of your statement, you're asked, she did say yes that these things did happen. And then,
Where?
And the first statement holds a lot of weight. So whether she made another statement, not wanting court action, she already did make the first statement. And that process already started.
No.
So the idea of now, you know, come back and say, I don't want it.
And that's a fundamental, and that is why I'm here to explain. That is not the way the law operates, and that is not factually correct. The further statement said that what I said was not exactly what transpired. For those reasons, I want to withdraw.
But isn't that not something a victim normally does either way?
No, it's not. And
because
again, you're saying
you're saying, you know,
again a victim. You keep on saying this, and you keep on saying perpetrator. These are allegations, unsubstantiated. These are until.
So you think that these things are kind of made up in the air, kind of like in a make-up story?
You can listen to me. There are personal circumstances. You and I think everybody has been in personal situations where you are having a discussion with somebody and you come back a week or day after, and your recollection of it is completely different than the other person. Am I right or am I wrong?
The things that did transpire, those recollections. I can't mess them the one that kind of.
No, so you have never been in a situation where you have one recollection of the facts as they occurred, and another person had one recollection of the facts as they occurred?
That's not the point.
No, it is the point.
That's not
Also, like, I mean, if
it is the fundamental point, and it is human, and that is what we cannot divorce ourselves from that fact that what we're dealing with, especially in situations of domestic relationships, it's highly highly emotional. It is not filled with logic. It is filled, the most powerful tool and the most deadly tool in life is love.
And then the thing is, love is manipulated very easily.
However, what about the physical evidence?
Exactly, the physical evidence.
Harm, the bruises
and
that,
so
that
forth.
are displayed. I mean, it's not just emotional
Broken
logic,
laptops
you
and
know,
stuff
but
like
these
that,
are
so-
there's physical things are there as
again, where one has an investigation, that is why I said it is important that the police conduct an investigation to determine how these things come about.
Most definitely, I understand that part there.
Without that, you can make any type of conclusions, but that is why it is critically important that the police, and again, let us use this as a general statement. This is something that I've had problems with the police on multiple occasions, that they're quick to charge rather than to investigate, then charge. That is the way the law is supposed to work. When after you have been charged in many of these circumstances, that is the most devastating thing there is. Because again, in the court of public opinion, it is not innocent until proven guilty. It is guilty even after proven innocent.
I understand that completely, and I get where you're coming from, and I guess I know exactly why, and a viewer even said it too as well, that the reason why people have been reacting this kind of way is because they've seen a pattern in Honorable Patrick Faber, so they believe that they understand in that regard. So again, we're going back and forth with this whole kind of thing. I have to cut it because
I think it's critically important. I think it's critically important because I've heard that said on multiple occasions. Multiple occasions. That is a presumption that the facts are true, that the statements are true, that the assumptions are true. That can't be.
Right.
You can only have a pattern if the facts follow. If this happened, and this happened.
That's where the value of the proper investigation.
That is why it is critically important that, for me, in any situation, for a full investigation to be done, after a full investigation, you say, you know what? Those were not the facts.
Okay.
Those were not the facts. No, you can say you're guilty of having, again, instances where there are domestic disputes.
Yeah.
But that is not the same as saying that there is domestic violence or to say that there is certain actions taking place. So I think that's important to distinguish, and it is critically important, again, that we, and I've seen it, and I've seen a lot of persons on social media and all over presume guilt rather than presuming innocence and allowing the process to work. And even after the process has worked, there is still the presumption of guilt. All right, but that's my simple point to that.
I get where you're coming from.
It's been an enlightening conversation.
I do believe so. And again, another viewer, and I'm going back to what the viewers are trying to say and get across here, that when this woman has made her initial statement in the beginning, she was with a seasoned lawyer that in that essence would be able to not make the overall statement misunderstood in that sense. It was trained and seasoned. So they believe, and it should be something we'd see if we can get along the way, is having her attorney come in and explain how that transpires. So because that it's a lot of conversation, because you have to say, you know, you're coming from a different standpoint and all these things too as well.
Let me tell you the role of an attorney. The role of an attorney is not to, and you're absolutely correct, one of the best attorneys she had. You see, you can't have it both ways, you know. Because the very same attorney was there when the further statement was made. It was he and I who signed it, one of the best. So you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
You can't be saying, oh, well, she had an attorney there when the first part of the statement was made and say, well, it has to be true. And then when the further statement is made with the very same attorney, you said, oh, no, well, it can't be true.
No,
you cannot have your cake and you cannot have your cake and eat it too. And the principle and the attorney's position, and I always tell persons this, an attorney our responsibility is not to to put our set of facts in any circumstance. Our job is to advise you based on the facts that you present to us. So for example, totally unrelated. I always tell clients, remember, when you're talking to me, you have to be totally honest, because the only way that I can properly assist you if you're being totally honest with me.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you that there are clients who still come and be dishonest with you. And then when you reach before the court, somebody presents a piece of evidence and you just look over and say,
Right.
Man, this happened. But
wow.
what
Really?
we can say is this case definitely needed investigation. There were bruises, there were certain things that happened, and definitely we have to wrap up this segment. But I thank you again for coming on, sharing all these different cases. Definitely the public had a lot to say towards it, and there is going to be, as many of you may know, at 3 p.m. this afternoon, there's supposed to be a press briefing. And so for those people that have been following very closely, make sure you stay tuned of what's going to come for that. But with that, we go to our last commercial break. When we're back, we're going to be wrapping up today's show. So stay tuned.